Hello, I'm Marion Newman. My traditional name is Ngiega, and this is for Opera Canada. I would really like to acknowledge that today I'm coming to you from Tekaronto, where the trees stand in the water. This land has always been the place of the Anishinaabeg, the Haudenosaunee, the Huron-Wendat, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. And today is home to many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. As a kid, I played the piano and I sang in choirs, and once I got into college, I had to take voice as a second instrument because I was playing for singers. And I had to learn about breath and words and how that changes the way you make music. And I was in a class with two other pianists, and we played for each other and we explored all of this repertoire. I loved how words and character brought so much to musical storytelling, whereas I'd only worked in melody and harmonies before. One day, when we were having a class, my teacher left the room to take a phone call, and when she came back, I was imitating an opera singer that I knew, and so I was using full vibrato and really going for it. And she walked into the room and she said, "I heard that, and now that I know that you can sing with vibrato, we're really gonna learn how to sing." And she started giving me my own private lessons at that point. That was Marilyn Weiss, and she was a real inspiration. I'm Kwagiulth and Stó on my dad's side, and those are two First Nations from the West Coast. One from the northern tip of Vancouver Island is the Kwagiulth territory, and the Fraser Valley, just outside of Vancouver, is where the Stó people are from, and that was on my grandmother's side. And on my mom's side, I'm English, Irish, and Scottish in heritage. And I say heritage because I haven't actually lived in any of those places, although I've visited. So I don't completely embody them the same way I feel like I do embody my First Nations side. How that comes into play in my work as an opera singer is that I've been fortunate to be involved in the development and performance of a lot of staged works that are operas about First Nations people and their experience. And sometimes this comes into play with song cycles as well, like amazing music by Ian Cuson, on words by Marilyn Dumont, for instance. Sometimes people ask me why opera to tell those stories? And it's because we as Indigenous people have been singing our stories and dancing them and playing them with amazing masks and costumes and button blankets around a fire for the witnesses that we invite to our potlatches since time immemorial. And so opera is like an extension of that for me. It is a musical way of storytelling, and the reason we tell story through music is because it hits us emotionally. It gets inside us. We find ourselves tapping our feet or feeling, like singing along, humming the tunes afterward, and that is that story living within us. I feel like everything you do in life when you have a job like being an opera singer, it just ties into that anyway. But specifically, to keep focused and to stay healthy, I eat really beautiful food that inspires me to work out. And I have an amazing trainer, her name's Hélène, and I meet her twice a week on Zoom for 30 minutes, and she's really good at helping me figure out my posture and to help me like with the strength in my back muscles and all these parts of me that when you're a singer, you don't actually see what's going on with your instrument. That gives me strength and helps me understand how to articulate the muscles that I need to make a good and healthy sound for as long as possible. One of the amazing offers I've had lately is to become the host of Saturday Afternoon at the Opera on CBC. And through that work, I have this incredible team of producers who are super smart and they're super interested. They hear me and they involve me in the planning and in how to write the scripts, and they have helped me learn how to hone story and how to be succinct, because otherwise I could really wander. But we only have 4 hours on the show, so no, I'm just kidding. That has been really inspiring because I've also learned about all these operas that I as a mezzo would never even be in. I've had this chance to deliver synopses, so it really makes me think of operas, not just from my own character's point of view, but from just a listener's point of view, the whole thing. Like, how do you distill a complicated story? So I think that's been a real gift. I think that it's really important that we as Canadians start to understand what incredible talent we have here within the opera realm. And I'm not just talking singers, I'm talking repetiteurs, conductors, composers, librettists, stagehands, everyone who makes opera happen, because it is a really community event to put an opera on. If we could grow some pride in what we have here, we would stop putting ourselves second to what's going on in Europe. We have a lot of stories here in Canada that we could be telling, and through the creation of new pieces, we can be telling Indigenous stories, which can help us to understand what it is to live together, because we've been fed history from one angle. It's a much richer background than we think it is. To grow pride instead of pity, to understand that someone like me stands proudly and feels good about being Indigenous, can help other Canadians who don't share that heritage understand that we can talk on the same level and that we have a lot to offer each other. And it is, I think, really important that we tell our stories in this medium, that we reach audiences who don't necessarily know how to start the conversations, to understand who it is that we are still living with, to tackle some of the tough subjects, but also to humanize who we are, because my life is full of joy. And so same deal with all of my relatives. I like to be able to share that we are full humans having a real wonderful, full experience that of course includes the trauma, but also so much happiness and pride.